Welcome, everybody. Happy Valentine's Day. This is going to be our wonderful little Valentine's Day quiz. Mark from Soup is here again to charm us with his presence and to see what everybody knows about Valentine's Day.
Yeah, yeah. As ever, I deliberately not researched this topic. I want to be, I want to be the voice of the people. But there might be some things that I know. I don't know. One question I'm hoping you ask me. I'm not going to say what it is, but I'm hoping it comes
I
up.
think it's the bonus question because I know you know the answer to it, and I purposely put it there. So this way,
Oh, okay.
in case you were despondent that you
I'm
didn't get
curious.
anything else. We'll see. We'll see. If not, you'll ask it at the end. So write it down. You'll ask it at the end.
Okay. Yeah, 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 yeah. All
So
right.
I think the biggest question, one of the biggest questions is Valentine's a pagan holiday?
So we're just diving straight in, are we?
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. No.
correct. It is not.
Yes.
Very good, Mark. There are other pagan holidays in February, obviously, like Imbolc, and but a lot of them have to do with things like purification, right?
Yep.
That's the whole idea of February, especially in ancient Roman times. There is no evidence that links it to the Roman Lupercalia, which is, the big
Yeah.
idea that you
Yeah.
hear Garbage Time magazine talking about, saying that, oh, it has to do with Lupercalia, which no, that was a Victorian idea. There is absolutely no link. Lupercalia had to do with wolves, with
No.
sacrifices, with cleansing, and Valentine's has nothing to do with that.
No.
In ancient Rome, 6th century, Lupercalia was observed on the 15th of February, which is why it might be tempting to say that it was. But the holiday was about Lupa, the she-wolf who is said to have reared Romulus and Remus, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
it has
Hmm.
nothing to do with love, nothing to do with any of that. There, now, to be fair, there was a connection with fertility and health as part of the sacrifices, but nothing that has to do with love. Festival also was originally known as Februa, which meant purification.
Oh.
After the Februum, which was used on the day, the purification device. Some folk legends claim that Romans would pair off young boys and girls of marriageable age during this time, but there's no historical evidence for that. That's
No.
we don't know
No.
if that's true. And as well, Imbolc, which is it was never called that in ancient times in Ireland, but it's always Bridget's Day, St. Bridget's Day. It's February the
Mm.
2nd, and that has to do with St. Bridget. Now, Imbolc also has to do with purification, but it again has to do with things like milking, the lambs coming in, lambing season. Nothing, absolutely nothing to do about love.
Okay. Interesting. It's it's intriguing to me that there's this idea of there being a set time of year when people might pair off their kids because that I mean obviously there's a whole thing of being a debutante, isn't there? And that
Hmm.
your year, your age dictates when you enter society. But also Um, I think I seem to recall biochemically they reckon that Homo sapiens that our mating season is probably the summer. That's when people have the most sort of sexy chemicals
All
going on in
those
their heads.
dang kids making noise outside.
I think was it Oasis? You might have to bleep this, but they had a song that was fucking in the bushes. And
I forgot about
yeah.
that. That's right.
But yeah, so not spring. I reckon that yeah, it would have been you're much more likely to see amorous people in the summer, I think. Hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, this
Yeah.
was well, we'll get to whether or not this was a time of spring in a second.
Okay.
So good, you got that one. But was it based perhaps on a different Roman holiday?
I'm gonna say I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna be yeah, yeah, go on me.
Ah! No, no, there
Okay.
was an idea that for some time that it might have been based on parentalia, or dies parentalis, which is the ancestral days, a 9-day festival held in honor of family and ancestors, beginning on the
Right.
13th of February, because Ovid describes it as well. He talks about sacrifices and flower garlands, offerings of wheat and salt, wine-soaked bread, violets. Again, maybe we're
Okay.
getting into the weeds there.
Yeah, yeah.
He talks about visiting family tombs, which were located outside Rome's sacred boundary. But again, these observances were meant to strengthen mutual obligation and protective ties between the living and the dead, and had
Yeah.
nothing to do with love or affection.
No. No.
So you're 1-1, Mark.
Yeah, 1-1. Yeah, that's all. That's fine.
Question 3. Is it an early Christian holiday?
Uh, no.
Very good. So,
Yes,
but why? Do you know why?
because Valentine hadn't been martyred yet.
Oh, okay. So you're very good, but it's not necessarily it. So the
Okay.
thing is, it was a Christian holiday. It is not anymore. It at the end of 5th century, Pope Gelasius, sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, declared February 14th as Saint Valentine's Day, and the feast is recorded in the 8th century.
Uh-huh.
However, because of conflicting reports of the Valentine's Day story, and because uh, nobody knows which Valentine it is, or at least some people say they do, um, it was completely removed from the Catholic canon. It's no longer on the liturgical calendar. It was removed
Right.
in 1969, and the Eastern Orthodox Church doesn't even celebrate it until July 6th, and it's a very minor feast. So nobody could
Interesting.
agree, nobody could agree on the day that he was martyred.
Uh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So if anybody
Interesting.
now tells you, oh, it's a Christian holiday, Catholic churches do not
No.
celebrate it. It was removed in 1969.
Interesting. Do you know? Do you happen to know if it's in the Anglican Communion or not?
I don't think it is. No, I don't think it ever was. I think
No.
it was just Roman Catholic,
Yep.
and it was quote unquote celebrated for a while. But again, there's questions as to whether was it for Shrovetide, was it for there's a lot of mystery around the origins of those, which is why I think it's so interesting.
Yeah. 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 Okay.
Speaking of mystical origins,
Mm-hmm.
this is something that I was told when I was a kid. So, was Valentine's Day based on a massacre?
Oh, because I know that there's such thing as the Valentine's Day Massacre, but that's something quite recent, isn't it? No. I'm going to say no.
Very good. So it's not based on the massacre, but there are actually two massacres that happen on Valentine's Day.
Oh,
So what's
okay.
the one that you know?
I'm not sure. It just rings a bell. Sorry.
We were always told in school that the reason we didn't celebrate it in school was that
Uh-huh.
it was based on a massacre, and nobody ever said which one. So there were two. The first
Uh-huh.
one was a Tudor massacre that happened on Valentine's Day, and I can't remember which Richard it was, but they got all together and there was a battle, and then much later in 1929,
Right. Yeah.
yeah, there was the Prohibition massacre, but that
Yeah.
was in Chicago.
Yeah.
But it became very famous in Prohibition history, but had
Yeah.
nothing to do with the holiday or Valentine's itself.
That's the one I was thinking of, I think. I
Yeah.
think basically the whole place got shot up and lots of people
Mm-hmm.
died.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad, yeah. But all those prohibition, you
Yeah.
has to do
Hmm.
you need to save alcohol for love.
Hmm.
Doing the
Strange.
community a service. uh, next question. Which Saint Valentine is Valentine's Day about?
Well, going off the logic of previous questions, we do not know.
Yes, we have no idea. And the church doesn't know either. There are at least 11 identified Valentines or
Mm-hmm.
Valentinuses or Valentinum, because the name was very popular. But there are at least three that we know of who were said to be martyred on February the 14th.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's Valentine of Rome,
Mm.
Valentine of Tournai, and the Catholic Encyclopedia speaks of a third saint named Valentine who was mentioned in the early hagiographies under the date of February the 14th. He was martyred in Africa with a number of companions, but nothing more is known about him. The
Oh.
earliest accounts of the acts of Saint Valentine we have date to 5th and 6th century, so it's quite early,
Mm-hmm.
and state that Valentine tried to convert Emperor Claudius but failed, and he was executed. Another legend say that
Sorry.
say that the Bishop Saint Valentine of Tournai was also executed in a similar style, and some people even believe that they were the same person. So it might be that they were not three, but they were two instead.
Right. Those are high stakes, though, aren't they? Aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, presumably they must have. I'll grant you an audience, but if you don't convince me, we're gonna kill you. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Fair enough.
But you'll have a day of love in your name forever after. Isn't that worth it? It's so worth it.
Yeah. Get in the was it the bronze bull? I've always hated that idea.
Hmm.
Yeah. Ugh. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So that
You're
just to check,
doing
is that
really well
that
so far.
that's 5 questions so far, yeah?
Yeah, you're doing really
Okay, cool.
well.
Yeah. Great.
Traditionally, was Valentine's Day or celebrating Valentine's Day only for the rich?
Uh I'm gonna say yeah, because it's not necessary.
Possibly, very
Yeah,
possibly.
not necessarily on a Sunday, so you might not have time off.
Yeah, so according to some sources, it might have started as a court ritual in France.
Ah,
More recognizable Valentine's Day is recorded in the 17th century when Samuel Pepys wrote about everyone's name being put on a slip of paper. And some say that names were drawn beforehand and gifts were given on Valentine's Day. Some say that the
oh,
names were drawn on Valentine's and the gifts were given later. Pepys gives an excellent description of 17th century Valentines, rarely failing to mention the day because he had to spend money. The details varied from year to year, showing the custom was fluid. His entries for 1666, for example, include references to drawing Valentines by lots. And complaints about the expense of several presents he felt obliged to give the lady who had drawn him. For example, a dozen pairs of gloves, a pair of silk stockings uh,
uh-huh.
was given to this woman as late as the 10th of March. Now, we don't know if that was when it was traditionally supposed to be given, or that's just when
It's like
he, yeah,
been almost a
exactly.
month. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Uh,
fine.
Pepys later talks about setting up to give his wife a very expensive ring. These sorts of
Okay.
customs seemed restricted to upper middle classes. And there are 17th century commentators who state flat out that this was the case, as Professor Ronald Hutton does say. It was popular in metropolitan culture where tradesmen and professionals would have the money to spend on these kinds of things.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
According,
Also, it sound
actually,
what I was just gonna say, it sounds as though the fact that you weren't just that, yeah, the fact that people could even draw lots on who to give gifts to, that's quite a luxurious thing anyway,
mhm.
isn't it? So yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you were poor and you were drawing lots and you went, oh crap, I don't have anything to give this person, and
No,
I don't
no.
get paid, till the end of the month, or sometimes even, until March the 15th or the 25th of the
Mm,
month.
mm.
I don't know. Peeps had no excuse though. Giving something a month late.
This is true. This is true.
According to Professor Hutton as well, on almanacs used by Stratfordshire country people, the day was marked as a true lover's knot. At the same time, valentining, so this is what poor people did. Valentining reached its highest level in societies. In 1668, the heir to the throne, Duke of York, gave a jewel worth about £800. That was good money in them days,
Yeah, yeah.
as a valentine to a current court beauty, Lady Frances Stuart. Valentining was a begging tradition for poor people, equivalent to like going around for All Souls, Thomasing, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
Children went around asking wealthier neighbors for Valentine's gifts and money, food, and eventually candy, obviously. The activity is first recorded in the mid 18th century. Valentining also had rhymes associated with it. Morrow, morrow, Valentine. Good morrow, Valentine. Good morning, Valentine. Valentine's Day is drawing near, and both men and maids incline to choose themselves a Valentine. That's from Poor Robin's Almanac in 1757.
So would do we know if your Valentine has to be someone significant to you?
It seems in this specific custom that it was not. It didn't have to be your
Hmm.
lover. I mean, Pepys talks about it both ways. He talks about giving the silk stockings and gloves to a lady that he knew. You just go, wait a minute, isn't Pepys married? I mean, yeah. And so he talks about getting his wife a
Mm-hmm.
very expensive ring, and how he had to like plan for it beforehand and everything. So it seemed like it wasn't just lovers. It was
Mm.
possibly a thing for that you would do for single people, because it doesn't seem like that lady had a husband. So it is possible that it was something that people did for single people.
Hmm.
in order to, like I say, maybe pair them up or make them not feel bad that they're not together with somebody.
Yeah.
There's really no way of knowing.
So it's interesting because I suppose some people do similar things on, I suppose especially Mother's Day. So aunts and grandmas and this
Hmm.
kind of thing that they'll get presents on that day.
I get
So
nothing. That's what I got. I get nothing on Mother's Day.
you get nothing but the adoration of
I get
Fuji
a pat on
San.
the shoulder and a good job. That's what I get.
Yeah, yeah.
As a little aside, though, it's very interestingly, there used to be, I didn't make this a question because I didn't think it was fair, but
Uh-huh.
and because the custom has completely fallen away, there used to be somebody called the Valentine Man who came around as if he was Father Christmas, who would come around on the night of Saint Valentine's Day, and this was actually recorded in 1840 that he was a little
Uh-huh.
invisible character who'd come around. Apparently inspired by, obviously it was fathered by Father Christmas. He left sweets, fruit, pencils, or a book for children on windowsills
Wow.
inside hallway. Yeah, but this obviously the custom.
It's not nearly as creepy as I thought it might be. That's a shame.
No, no. Well, you
Yeah.
think it's like a man in a diaper with a cupid bow
Yeah, yeah,
going.
yeah. Yeah, just turning up, yeah. Or because the irony there is that you may recall possibly in December, I think I shared some art maybe with you and some other people where it sort of shows that Santa is a bit of a ladies' man. He turns up and all the
Hmm.
girls are like, "Hey, Santa!" So it's interesting how, yeah, Valentine's man doesn't seem to get in on the party action. No, that's a
There's
shame.
no love left for him. Santa took it
No,
all.
yeah, yeah.
Obviously this says that this custom was going all the way up until the 1970s in rural areas in the UK, but it's gone now. I don't think
Mm.
anyone does this anymore.
At least we hope not. At least we
Also, I mean,
this sort.
I guess because Valentine's also sometimes this year it does. Valentine's coincides with the beginning of Shrovetide.
Yeah.
So they have there are other customs like eating pancakes and all that stuff. So I
Mm.
guess Valentine Man just kind of fell by the wayside. You could revive it. You could
Yeah,
revive the
Valentine
custom. You have the
man.
glasses.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's it. Yeah, exactly. I nearly poked myself in the eye there. Speaking of which, though, it reminds me of have I ever told you about the place name just up the road called Sandy's Lech?
No.
Well, there's a place called Sandy's Lech just up the road, and I feel as though Sandy's Lech. I always feel wherever we drive through, I always feel sorry for Sandy because I just feel imagine there's just some man sat by the road rubbing his thighs, just going, "Oh, Sandy." Um, but I imagine Sandy's Lech would take advantage of Valentine's Day, man. He'd turn up and go, "Oh, I'm Valentine's Day, man. Let me in."
Yeah, he does. He sounds like a Sujimon from Yakuza.
Yeah,
He's
exactly. Yeah,
it'd be
yeah,
amazing. But yeah,
yeah.
you could revive it. Why not?
I'm not. I don't want to go to Brent to jail. I'm okay. Okay, so but that didn't count. That was a non-question. Yeah, okay, yeah, cool. Right.
Yeah, no, I didn't make it a question because I thought
Right.
the customs no, it was very short-lived and it's no longer even in being, so there's no point.
You
But
have to draw.
next question, next
You have
real
to draw
question.
Valentine's Day, man. Maybe or something. Yeah, make a difference.
Next question is Valentine's Day just the first day of spring?
Oh, no.
Ooh, maybe,
Oh,
maybe,
okay,
maybe.
okay.
So half a point there for you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The date
Half each.
appears on French medieval calendars as the informal start of spring, marked on or around the 7th or the 22nd of February, according to the Etymological Dictionary. Ireland celebrates, obviously, the beginning of spring on 1st of February with St. Bridget's Day.
Uh-huh.
Importantly, February is the first time when the birds return. Professor Ron Hutton says, although still more credible farther south in Europe, obviously, because it's a little bit cold up here, when spring would be more advanced, the idea made sense in Britain as well. By February 14th, the mating flights of ravens, crows, and rooks are usually
Mm,
visible. And they do start to repair their nests. While in a good year, the spring songs of thrushes, finches, and woodpeckers begin as well. And same thing is here. Actually, I noticed it. I mean, not today, but a couple days ago, it was 6 degrees here, and all the birds
mm,
were coming back very
yeah.
suddenly. I woke up and I heard birds, and I went,
Oh,
it's February 1st. What's
yeah,
happening? This doesn't
yeah.
happen in Canada. I was quite shocked.
Well, yeah. Let's not think about that too much because it might be a bit depressing. Um, but no, actually, yes, we've got the birds. Birds are back. They are gathering outside the the local bakeries where
Of
builders
course.
throw pieces of sausage roll at them, and also
Don't waste the
uh,
sausage.
and also between our houses, we've got a little sort of semi-detached sort of canyon of brick, basically. And it's quite funny. Whenever I go out in the morning to empty the bins, there's lots of bird song, but you need to remember, or I find myself giggling at the thought that actually these birds aren't, you know, I'm not Snow White here. They're not singing for me. What they're saying is back off, back, or they're probably saying get out of here, fuck off, kind of thing. Like, get lost. And I said I go back in the house going, ah. Like,
Should go out in a
like,
bow and a little bindle and start
yeah,
skipping.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, well, the birds are like, oh, he's here again.
So
Get lost.
speaking of the birds,
Yep.
did Chaucer just invent the holiday?
I have no idea, but I'm gonna say probably not.
Yes, very good. So so in 1381 is the very first mention of Saint Valentine's Day
Uh-huh.
that he writes in the Parliament of Fowls or the Parliament of Breeds, which is birds, right? But he
Hmm.
mentions it as though his audience would have already known what Valentine's Day is. But
Hmm.
his is the very first description that we have of the day being linked to love, but specifically for birds. So in his Parliament of Fowls, he describes a group of birds who gathered together in the early spring on Valentine's Day, as he writes, to choose their mates for the year. Some scholars have suggested that this poem was written possibly for King Richard II during the negotiations over his marriage of Anne of Bohemia.
Right.
And so that's probably why, because if people don't realize Chaucer was an upperclassman,
Yeah.
and he would have known these people.
Hmm.
It wasn't
Hmm.
until Geoffrey Chaucer uh, that he wrote about this in 1381, saying, "This was for on Saint Valentine's Day, when every bird cometh there to chase his make," instead of mate, he wrote make. And this is probably, so we don't know if he meant it as a metaphor for courting. Again, we don't know.
Hmm. Hmm.
But the birds bit might have been a distinctly British thing, because we
Right.
don't know whether or not in Southern Europe that this was meant to be about courting. We don't know. As
Yeah.
well, obviously, Shakespeare alludes to it in Midsummer Night's Dream. Toward the end of the play, Theseus and the Duke of Athens stumble upon four sleeping lovers and compare them to mating birds, again, saying, "Good morrow, friends, St. Valentine's is past." Right?
Right.
So, Professor Ronald Hutton says it seems a little strange that neither of the 14th century poets, he means Chaucer and Lydgate, um, mentioning his work, gave prominence to the belief about birds, unless the human custom had grown up between the time of Chaucer's work in the 1830s and of John Lydgate's work in 1440.
Okay.
So we don't know what Chaucer was on.
Yeah.
Either people did know about the custom and he just thought it was a bird thing, or it was a metaphor of some kind. We'd have no idea. In Lydgate's verses, however, he suggests that it is the whole courting thing is distinctly English, and it's
Hmm.
possible that nobody else in Europe celebrated it quite the same way. In the early 15th century, he talks about birds, saying that the poem dedicated to Henry V's widow, Catherine, on this date, and he writes, "Look and search Cupid's calendar and choose their choice by great affection." So again, this seems to be something earlier than that,
Okay.
but we don't know. But Chaucer definitely didn't invent it, even though his mention is the first one we have.
Well, and this is always this is one of the well, first of all, that's the reason why I said probably not, is that if he's mentioning something, he's doing it for an audience, and the audience needs to know what the heck you're talking about.
Right.
Um, but this is does bring up one of those great things in in linguistics, but certainly in archaeology and historical academia, and more to the point, public reporting of this stuff in the news. It's always the oldest, the biggest, the long. The, sort of, when I say biggest and the longest, the most impressive find. The usually this is a measure of time, and therefore it'll be a case of, yeah, we found the first instance of X, Y, or Z. And all they really mean is we found the first one that we know of,
Hmm.
which means almost certainly it's not the first. Yeah, to be numerous enough to survive at all at a certain point in the archaeological record, surely to goodness it needs to be more than one of them at that point. But
Yeah, we have, like I said, we have the holiday on the Catholic calendar. Well, obviously it's no longer there, as we discussed, but it's been there since 7th century. However,
mm,
what it had to do with birds and courting and love,
mm.
somewhere between those times, things kicked up, and we just don't have any evidence of it.
Although speaking of courting, is that your courting ritual? Do you just sort of go, "Oh, lover," and just start quoting Chaucer to them?
Okay, honestly, if you stand on a corner on Valentine's Day and just start quoting Chaucer in his particular vernacular, I think people think you're cracked.
Yeah, but that means you're guaranteed to get a good sort. Well, no,
That's
maybe not.
very true. If you
Yeah,
get if you manage to get the one person in the crowd who knows
he
what
goes, "Oh my goodness!" Yeah,
Parliament of Fouls, yeah, exactly.
yeah,
They flock to you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Before you're arrested, yeah.
Speaking of which,
Uh-huh.
what does Saint Valentine have to do with love?
Oh, oh, I could have sworn I knew this. I
Want to take
don't
a
know.
guess?
I don't know. But what I would say is that it's interesting that it sounds as though, uh, ironically enough, Saint Nicholas had possibly more to do with coupling people than maybe Valentine did. Because didn't he give people money for their dowry so they could get married, supposedly?
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm not. I don't know though. I'm not sure. I'm not. That's an instant L for me.
There is a kind of a spurious legend that states that Saint Valentine, which one, who knows? Saint Valentine was a Roman priest who performed weddings and soldiers for people who were forbidden to
Ah,
marry,
okay.
because of the Roman emperor's edict decreeing that married soldiers did not make good warriors, and thus young men could not marry if you wanted to be if you wanted to be a soldier. This Saint Valentine, it's also claimed that this particular Saint Valentine, whichever one he was, wore a ring that helped soldiers recognize him. And as a precursor to greeting cards, he handed out paper hearts to remind Christians of their love for God.
Oh,
No,
oh.
oh, because God's lonely.
Yeah, exactly.
Because of this legend, St. Valentine became known as the patron saint of love, though there is no historical basis for this whatsoever.
Okay.
According to similar version of the legend, the priest signed a letter from your Valentine to Claudius's jailer, because he got jailed by Emperor Claudius II. Claudius's jailer's daughter, whom he had befriended and by some accounts healed from blindness. That was the miracle that he did.
Okay.
Other accounts hold that it was Saint Valentine of Terni, the bishop, for whom the holiday was named. Though it is possible, like we said, that these two saints were actually one person, and that all of these stories belong to him and not two other ones.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Cool. That was interesting. I'm happy to take a loss on that one.
Well, we'll see if you can get this one, Mark.
All right.
So, we already mentioned it a little bit. What was a Valentine originally?
Well, okay. Well, I mean, the thing that we've mentioned that I didn't know about was drawing lots.
Yes, exactly. Yes,
Okay.
exactly. So people would
Interesting.
put names into a pot, they would draw lots, then they would take a name and pin it to their heart or their hat, and that would be
Ah.
your Valentine for the day. So according to several sources, by 1641, the system of lots was very well known in places like Scotland, where a wag was proposed that a Lord Chancellor be chosen in the same fashion. By late 18th century, people chose a recipient privately and gave them a token of affection.
Okay.
Yeah.
What
Um,
what what? Just to have interest there. What do you make of that transition from it being like a almost like what sounds like fun and something where you show your appreciation for someone who might not be getting appreciation to that thing of because like we've all had that awful school experience where people
mhm.
are like, who's your Valentine? And you're so painfully aware of who might have got a card or who hasn't got a card or whatever's going on. It just becomes
I think it could go two ways though. I mean,
Oh,
if everybody puts in their name and everybody draws lots, that means that
yeah,
nobody's left out, and that's good. But if you do grab somebody that you don't like, you go, oh man, Jimmy again,
yeah,
ew, gross,
yeah,
then
yeah.
it's that public embarrassment. Now, so what would you rather? Would you rather get something begrudgingly, or would you rather not be chosen at all? That's the real question.
Mm.
In
Oh,
Japan, mhm.
so it's to say, so on that note, I'm sorry to keep on diving in, but on that note, um, this Christmas, you'll probably find this amusing. My brother-in-law got me a book, and I was like, oh, this is a lovely book, thank you. I'm dyslexic. I don't tend to read for pleasure. I tend to
That's a
listen to
lie. You
stories.
have a whole book section in your Discord.
No, 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 yeah, no. I love reading, but I don't, it's not something I do when I go to bed or whatever.
Ah,
I tend to
mhm.
read graphic novels, or listen to stories. But what happened was I was like, oh, thank you. And then I opened it and saw it was a graphic novel. I went, oh, thank you. And he was like, I went straight from like, polite thank you to oh, genuine thank you. So yeah, in the Valentine's Day situation, it'd be like, oh, Jimmy, oh, and then it's like, oh no, Jamie. Oh yeah, hello, Jamie. Yes, hello.
Never treat people with derision because you never know how they're gonna
You
grow
never
up,
know. You never
kids.
know.
You
Anyway,
never know.
Japan. Sorry, you were
Yeah,
saying.
so in Japan, Valentine's Day has become a thing, and as they do, but it has obviously nothing to do there with birds. So what they do in Japan, they have something later called White Day, on
Yep.
which people get chocolates. So they've adopted Valentine's Day, which is a couple weeks earlier, and so now girls pick a boy to
Mm,
give what they call obligation chocolate to, right? So you have obligation chocolate. So the girls give chocolates to everybody, but then you
mhm.
give your homemade or your best chocolates to the guy that you like. And then
Ah,
uh it's uh on White Day, it's the opposite, where the guy that is supposed to reciprocate his feelings by giving you something on White Day.
yeah.
And it has been a matter of contention, especially in the last couple of years, because
Hmm.
obviously girls will give guys something and then guys don't have the same obligation.
Nope.
So how is that? That's not fair. So guys get all the chocolate, and girls essentially get out of this getting nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's become a thing where you hope that you'll get something, but there's no guarantee that on White Day you will get something.
Um, are you curious about the Welsh equivalent of Valentine's Day?
Yes, please do say.
So that is just made a note here. Saint uh Dwynwen, Saint Dwyn Wednesday. The thing is, we don't tend to do it here in England, and I've lived in England for long, and I've lived in Wales. But so Saint Dwynwen, and it's the 25th of January. And what's really funny about that is that when, especially growing up, sort of, if you're in Northeast Wales, there's quite a lot of English cultural um, sort of bleed over. And so all the, especially all the girls and all the women, the wives and the cynical grandmas think that this is just a cheapos cop out because everything, roses aren't as expensive and like and
Oh,
chocolate, but but I mean, you can make a lovely, wooden spoon, little love spoon for your cariad,
so
hand one
what
over.
is the story of him, and why is he associated with love?
I've come to you with half a fact, and I apologize. I literally, I, literally before we started recording, I thought, oh, I better just write that one down just so I don't forget. I don't know. I can find out for you and tell you after the fact.
Yes, yes, actually, I'd really like that, because I think it's interesting that it is so close to Christmas, and they decide to
Yeah.
put that during, because Christmas tide traditionally was over February the 2nd on Candlemas. So it's
Mm.
always interesting to me what holidays they kind of sneak in the middle.
Yep. Yep.
And the same thing with this. There is no link with Valentine's Day to Mardi Gras or Shrovetide or anything like that. But I always wonder if this was used to maybe not be part of it, or part of Carnival somehow, because there, like I said, with drawing lots and having public displays, it seems like it would be. I mean, there's no record of dressing up on Valentine's Day. There's no
Right.
record of special things that you would eat. But I do wonder if this was not something that just popped up out of like the Shrovetide season,
Mm.
um, and
Possibly.
and people just decided to do it.
Mm.
But again, there's no historical link. There's no historical evidence. That's just me wondering about it.
The only thing I do remember about doing Wednesday is that it's like tragic love, you know.
That's the same thing with Valentine's,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's supposed to be
yeah,
tragic love,
yeah.
and that's it. But
Mm.
it always is. It's never
Dong dong
if
tainted love. Yeah, yeah.
if he's a saint, it's not going to be happy.
No,
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 because
no.
as other people have discovered, they go, "Oh, he just died on this day." Oh,
Uh,
that's great. Speaking of tainted, was Valentine's Day invented by Big Postal just to sell more post office?
uh, yes, and you can't convince me otherwise,
Yes,
Michelle. Yeah.
yes, yes, yeah. So I suppose, uh, uh, sort of, obviously, but the
Yeah.
earliest surviving card, or rather, I should say, the earliest surviving Valentine that we have is from Charles, Duke of Orleans. He was imprisoned in the Tower of London in 1415, and he wrote the
Okay.
following to his wife. He's in Old French. He says, "Je suis déjà d'amour tanné, ma très douce Valentine." So that that's what he wrote in
Yeah.
1415. So that is the very first. So obviously that wasn't made up by Big Postal, but
No, no.
the habit of sending written compliments for Valentine's Day is a development pretty much of the mid 18th century. And there is the very earliest letter is in the Paston Papers is in 1477. But then we have almost nothing until 1750. 1750 was the very first Valentine's Day card. It's actually in the whole museum and you can see it. In the 1820s, stationers started printing special stationery for romantic notes. And in February of 1825, the London Post Office recorded handling an extra 200,000 letters compared to any other month of the year.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a good way to get your penny and two penny post up.
Your
In
penny black. Yeah.
in 1840s, handmade cards began to make the rounds, and they were decorated with lace, satin, and carefully cut paper patterns. In the 1870s, cheap printed cards became available from the post office and were so popular that in 1880, 1.5 million Valentine's cards passed through the post office.
Wow.
Yeah. That, however, represented the peak, and it very sharply declined
Okay.
afterward. It was partly the result of like the passing fashion, but also the increase of production, mocking and insulting and indecent Valentine's cards became very popular. But according to sources, by 1914, the sending of Valentines had become completely rare and almost died out in
Oh,
every single part of England and Wales.
very, yeah, almost like a twee tradition. Yeah.
The
Interesting.
custom was revived in the 1920s, but very nominally. It was only in the 1950s that it became popular again due to American fashion and
Okay.
mass-produced American cards. So speaking of our friend Cupid,
Uh-huh.
when did Cupid become associated with Valentine's Day?
Ooh. Uh, the Renaissance.
Ooh, I'll give you a half a point. I have a point because
Okay.
that's when he grew wings and started being depicted in Christian art.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
he was obviously the son of Mercury and Venus, and by the 19th century is when he began appearing on cards. But it was the Renaissance when he did grow wings and started being put in like little love depictions. But he only became popular or was put on cards in the 19th century.
So it is
Um,
Cupid. It's Cupid. It's Cupid. Cupid. Very well. Sure. It's Cupid. Cupid. Top. Is Cupid one of these named sort of emissaries? Is that the deal? Sort of biblically or
no, I
no?
mean, it's just it has to do with the Roman mythology and
Right.
in Cupid's
Okay.
arrow and how hitting people with love. That's it. That's really it.
Right.
Is that he just got associated. It had probably had something to do with the Victorians mistakenly thinking that Roman holidays were the beginning of Valentine's Day, and
I
so
see.
therefore they kind of shoehorned him in because it
Okay.
is around
Okay.
the same time.
Right.
But no,
So I
it's
wasn't
just
sure
the
if there
love
might be
association.
some one of those wonderful, biblically accurate versions of Cupid out there, like
Well, technically, well, that's the odd thing is that Cupid in Christian lore is depicted as a cherubim. So
yeah,
he's not
that's
an
it. That's it. Sorry, cherubim. They are. Yes. Sorry.
yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
he's not an Ophanaim, which is the burning wheels with the
Yeah.
tons of instead of be not
Are you
afraid, it says
afraid? Yeah.
you love me. Yeah, exactly. I love the hierarchy of angels. They're so weird and amazing.
Yeah.
But no, Cupid, it was Renaissance early Christian art where he transformed from a Roman demigod into this little cute little cherub that's shooting, heart arrows at people.
Yeah. Okay.
There's
Okay.
a story that Saint Valentine, whichever one, because we don't know, wore the Cupid ring to signal to people that he would marry them in secret, but there's no evidence for that. There are thousands of erroneous articles claiming that the holiday had something to do with Eros, which is obviously where Cupid comes from.
Yeah.
But Eros is just the god of love, and the arrows on Cupid's bow just got associated with Valentine's Day as a motif on cards. That's it. Has nothing. There's no back translation. There's no folk etymology. Nothing. It's just
Okay.
very very simply Eros was god of love. Cupid is his Roman counterpart. He was put into Christian lore as somebody who has arrows and shoots, is one of the cherubim for whatever reason. And that's it. There's nothing else to do with him.
Okay.
So
Okay.
this is the bonus question
All right.
that I purposely put in here because I thought you would get. So if this is the one that you thought I was going to ask, what was the first heart shape?
No, that's not quite what I thought you might ask, but
Oh,
I'm
okay.
intrigued. Okay. So uh, I think it depends, doesn't it? So the first heart, I think, I seem to recall, is something like the early 13th century. But the first representate the possible origins of the heart shape as linked with love and or desire is, I always get this wrong. Is it syphilum or siliphium? A
It's
seed,
siliphium.
siliphium, that's it. A seed from a plant that was thought to be an aphrodisiac.
Correct. And I knew you would know that
Hooray!
because you have you have a whole Valentine's video on it. However, asterisk, there are
Okay.
possible earlier depictions in India in
Oh,
the 5th and 6th century BC. There's a heart ideograph, or the heart shape was used to represent a heart-shaped fruit. And it is indeed the siliphium. And the plant, as
right.
it was possibly used as a contraceptive and an aphrodisiac. Silver coins from Cyrene in the 5th
Yeah.
and 6th century have a similar design, sometimes
Yeah.
accompanied by the plant, that it's understood to represent the seed or its fruit.
Hmm.
Before the 14th century, the heart shape, however, was not associated with the meaning of like love metaphor. Geometric shape itself is found on much earlier sources, but in such instances, it does not depict a heart. It's but typically foliage. Examples from antiquity, the fig leaves essentially is
Uh-huh.
what it represents. In medieval iconography and heraldry, typically a type of ivy or water lily petal. Peepal leaves as well were used as an artistic depiction in the Indus Valley civilization. So that's not representing a heart, even though the heart shape is there.
Hmm.
The heart-shaped pendant originating from there has been discovered, is now actually on exhibit in the National Museum of India.
Oh,
The
okay.
first known depiction of a heart symboling romantic love dates to 1250. It occurs in a miniature
Okay.
decorating with a capital S in the manuscript, the French Roman de la Poire. But there is a debate as to whether the image is actually meant to be a heart and not the plant. But again,
Yes, of
at
course.
that point,
Yeah.
I don't think it matters.
Hmm.
However, before this, the heart in art representations was more of a pine cone shape. And it didn't represent the heart, it represented the soul, as Aristotle claimed that the soul was located inside the heart.
Oh, oh.
Thanks, Aristotle.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You the
Little
man.
pine cone. Yeah. Um, although didn't Aristotle also believe that like you didn't think using your brain, for example?
He believed a
I
lot
think,
of things.
yeah, interesting things he believed.
He
Yeah,
he tried. He tried.
he did. He tried.
He was no
Yeah,
Plato. It's
bless him. Bless him.
bless him. What was the question you thought I was going to ask?
Well, I thought you were going to ask specifically, uh, what does this shape mean?
Mm.
Um, and I suppose I would, seeing as we've just gone through that, we've just gone through all of that, we've just gone through that answer that you just given. Um, One of the things I find fascinating about that question is that lots of people, they have all sorts of weird ideas about it. So some people think it's the idea of it's two swans coming together.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
see
sorry
the
for not the
outline.
mic.
Okay.
Other people think it's buttocks.
It is now.
I guess so. Yeah,
If the
but if you
peach
just put
says
them
so,
upside
you know it
down,
is.
you know,
Absolutely.
you got some buttocks. There you go. And then and then the other one, I can't quite remember how it works, but it's the idea of it's two people's hearts coming together because the heart is actually more like a fist
Oh, I
shape,
see. Okay, yeah. So it's
and
two
out of
hearts
that
like this. Okay.
comes a heart shape, I think. But it's
I
interesting how
see.
people have they clearly think about this. It's not just Day comes around and they just accept what the heart shape is.
Well,
It is an odd shape in that respect, isn't it?
it's sort of like that S that we all draw in high school, the self,
Yeah, yeah,
and you just think, where does that come from? Why do we all do this?
yeah.
But I think it's the same thing with the heart. Is we're trained up to, we know heart shapes, but why?
Mm,
Why is it associated with that? And people just draw it. So they'll try
mm,
to make a reason for it if there
mm.
isn't one. I
Yeah.
think that's natural. I think it's natural for people to try to find out or wonder about things, how associate like ideographs get associated with certain things. Absolutely.
Hmm. Yeah. But I don't know. I quite like the swans one. That's quite cute.
That is nice, even
Yeah.
though if improbable.
Improbable is the most scathing thing. That like you, Mrs. Soup, like other people, anyone who's like read a lot, can say to people, it's like, well, that's highly unlikely, improbable. It's kind of like you're not even. Sorry, I'm just picking up on it because I can just hear people going, "Oh, e."
It's
Yeah,
I appreciate that people are thinking. I like that they're wondering about things. Uh, but
too
the
late
swan,
now. Too late now.
unless there was a historical depiction of two swans with necks
Yeah,
intertwined, and there
yeah,
might be somewhere, maybe somewhere in the 1920s for sure.
yeah.
But we have depictions of the heart much earlier than that. So I don't. It's improbable.
You need to get a sticker made of that. Just give it to people.
Absolutely improbable. A stamp. I need a stamp that just goes
Yeah, yeah,
improbable.
improbable. Yeah,
For all the people who leave comments on my TikTok, just
yeah.
improbable.
About sort of Irish things. Yeah,
Oh,
improbable. Yeah.
we're gonna have to do one about the Green Man eventually. Actually, no, for
Mhm.
maybe for St. Patrick's Day. Um,
Oh God, yes, we should. Oh my God, yes.
don't. Oh, okay. I'll prepare that later.
Okay, cool.
So you did very well this time. So we'll do
Thank
an
you.
easy one for the last one, Mark. Easy one for the last one. What was the
Uh-huh.
very first Valentine's chocolate? Give you a hint. It was created in England.
I can imagine it might have been. Well, actually, no, because actually, yeah, yeah, thank you. Yeah, it might not have been. Uh, okay, I'm gonna go crazy. Minced beef wrapped in covered in chocolate.
You know what? I'd eat that.
Yeah,
I'd
yeah,
try that, but no,
yeah.
no, no.
All right,
It's
okay.
Cadbury's. The first heart-shaped box of chocolates was
Oh, okay.
Cadbury's in 1868.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
That's it.
That's
So,
quite nice.
so how did you do, Mark? What's your score?
Well, counting that last one, I think the score is and 9 to me and 4 or 3 to you. So 14 or 15 in total. So yeah, not too bad, not too bad. I think the ratio is a bit fairer this time,
Oh
definitely.
yeah, pretty good.
Yeah,
Very good.
yeah, yeah.
So but you win for your Valentine's, Mark. You get the
Uh,
gift of further reading.
so I'm less likely to be improbable. Okay, yep, yep.
So all these answers have come from Love, A Curious History by Edward Brooke Hitching, who's
Okay.
fantastic, and his books are amazing. But he just did a whole series of podcasts and book things for this book that just came out. It's really wonderful. It talks about, I think it's 50 items that he has discovered that tell the story of love and Valentine's Day. Really interesting.
Right.
The British Library's Medieval Origins of Valentines.
Okay.
Stations of the Sun by Professor Ronald Hutton.
Mm.
Oxford A Dictionary of Saints by David Farmer.
Ah,
And I put a note here saying that note other sources offer a variety of dates for historical Saint Valentine from 2nd century to 5th. Farmer says 3rd century, and so that's what's been used
okay.
here.
Yeah, yeah.
And of course, the Dictionary of English Folklore has been used as well for all the English sources. And that's it, kids. So wish you a very happy Valentine's, and it doesn't matter why you celebrate, or if you celebrate, or if you choose not to celebrate at all, because we all know that the real holiday is the day afterward, which is 70% off chocolate day. The
Yay.
real reason for the season. But go get
Absolutely.
chocolate now because all the Reese's Hearts sell out early.
Oh, I'm going to be controversial here, folks, because I imagine that a lot of your audience may well be from North America in some capacity. I just don't get the Reese's. I just don't understand.
And that's the end of our friendship, Mark. Good night.
Um,
It has to do specifically with because Reese's peanut butter is very special. If you don't, let's say you're not too fond of the milk chocolate aspect, I
yeah.
can sort of hear you on that, but they have dark ones now, so you can get that.
Okay.
It has to do with the consistency of Reese's because it's not a cream, it's more of a paste. And the way that it's made, especially like by very slow melting confectioner sugar, instead of
Okay.
making it how it usually is, it creates a very specific texture that
So,
no other peanut butter has.
and are the hearts the same as pieces, but just heart shaped? No, I'm
Don't
just asking.
how dare no the so there are several shapes that are
Uh-huh.
flat. So
Uh-huh.
Reese's once a year makes certain shapes. So for Halloween they make bats.
Okay.
For Christmas they make the Christmas trees, which just look like a lump of poo. And then the hearts are again they're also flat.
Okay.
And these shapes are sought after, and the eggs as well, the Easter eggs. They're not eggs, which they do make also, but they make flat eggs. They're just in the shape of eggs that you can
The
decorate.
ovals.
Yeah,
Ovals.
essentially, yeah.
Oh,
It's
oh,
just
ovoids.
yes, they are exactly.
Perfect. Yeah, yeah.
So
Mm.
these shapes are sought after because they have the most peanut butter to chocolate ratio than any of their other products. So the pieces, Reese's Pieces, are just the peanut butter in a candy shell.
Right.
Whereas the hearts, these hearts specifically, and you can get a big one too, you can get the 2-pound heart. Yeah. And it has the most peanut butter out of any of their other products with versus chocolate ratio.
Mm. Okay. 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 Cool. All right. Okay.
But what is it that you don't like? Is it the taste? Is it the texture? Is it an allergy? Is
No.
it a birth defect?
Yeah,
Is it
exactly. Yeah.
is it a mental
Yeah. Were you
deficiency?
dropped on
Is
your
it
head as a child? Yeah. No, no. So okay, this is like a little bonus conversation at the end here for folks. Okay. This is to do with the chocolate itself. And uh it's a big divide that occurred basically in the mid 20th
I'll
century.
save you, Mark. American
Yeah.
chocolate is disgusting.
Thank you.
But the Reese's recipe is not the same as the rest of Hershey's because they used to be two separate companies. And
Right.
part of the agreement that Reese's made when they were purchased by the Hershey's company is that they would not change the recipe. And Reese's has not changed. In all other Hershey's chocolate, however, they do add the very gross acid in it that makes it taste
Yeah.
like vomit. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
why we don't really have it much here in Canada either.
Really? Oh,
We
okay,
we do
okay.
we do have it. It's not like the regular Hershey's bars. No one really buys it. People will buy the chips for melting
Yeah.
down and baking with,
Yeah.
but we have Cadbury's here as well.
Oh, enlightened people. Um, no, no, well, and that's it. Okay. Maybe what I'm doing there is I'm completing Hershey's with Reese's, and actually, to be fair, the shop round the corner, since this is one of the, I'm not going to call it an upside of Brexit, but one of the things since Brexit is people have been getting their chocolates from various parts of the world, more and more in the UK. So there are actually some no, Reese's Hearts.
Hmm.
Yeah, Reese's Hearts in the shop around the corner. I'll go and buy some. I'll see what they're like.
Now you have to because you've besmirched.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm
You
really
have
sorry.
you have you have trampled.
I
You've
know.
trampled on my heart, the
Yeah,
Reese's heart,
exactly. Yeah.
the heart that I've cultivated over 40 years
Yeah.
that's now
Yeah.
made of
So you're
chocolate and
lining it
peanut
with
butter.
Reese's chocolate. Yeah.
Other people wrap theirs in bacon, and I respect that. But this
Yeah.
one is wrapped in Reese's foil.
Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. Well, yes, I shall go and I'll go and do that now. Thank you
But
so much for having me.
for
Thank you.
for your Valentine's penance,
Yeah.
you'll go do that now. And I guess, I
Yeah.
mean, I already have an Easter quiz lined up, but I guess we'll be back for. Okay, I have to say this. I did not realize that Easter is March 31st this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that has screwed up quite a lot of things because we were supposed to do like an Easter book and all this kind of thing.
Oh, of course. Oh, yes.
And now
Yes.
it's a month early. And obviously the Passover, that it's, I think every 18 years, Easter and Passover are not around the same time.
Yeah.
And so this is the first time that they're like a full month apart
Yeah.
in a very, very long time. And I went, oh, that kind of ruins things. So I guess we'll be back for a St. Patrick's Day quiz.
Hey, we can do Easter at some point as well. That's fine.
Oh no, it's already
Maybe
been
next year.
it's already been done. But
Oh, okay.
I have it lined out. So it's up to you. If you feel like you want to show up on Good Friday and come to the Church of Knowledge.
Yeah. 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 Exactly. Worship before, at the font of the knowledge, Church of Knowledge, before that Reese's heart gives out on you. Yeah.
No, it has
Good.
to stay around for has to stay around so this way the Reese's egg, the Easter egg can bolster it.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, of course. Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hilariously, they actually started selling the Reese's peanut butter, but in the jars, but it's not the same. Not the same texture.
I suppose it wouldn't be subject to the same contractual aspect, would it? So in
Because
that
one's
sense, they don't
candy
have
and one
to.
is a food stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Have you ever heard of blackjacks?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, recently they've started selling blackjack condiments in a local shop. Basically, you
Mm.
can squeeze it on ice cream, or even I've seen people squeezing it on their toast. And I just see
On
that, and
on the
yeah,
toast, I don't know. Maybe the ice cream I would
maybe,
try.
maybe,
Like just a plain vanilla and then put
yeah,
it on there. Okay.
yeah.
I hear
And
that.
anyway, we're in the weeds now, so should we just say ta Bye, guys.
Thanks for joining us, Mark.
You're very welcome.
We'll see you next time.
Will do.